And welcome to Foxborough Cable Access Live Election Coverage 2017. My name is Bob Hickey. I am your host, and I'll be taking a little bit of time tonight to share of the advisory committee recommendations for the upcoming town meeting while we await eagerly, I'm sure, the election results from the sole committee race, which was the school committee for a 3-year term. Incumbent Beverly Lord was running against challenger Nancy Morrison. And there's also one ballot question that was on the ballot that was for the permitting of marijuana sales for recreational purposes here in the town of Foxborough. As we know, in the last election cycle, it was legalized in the Commonwealth to sell recreational marijuana with a lot of stipulations and provisions on there. But the one piece of the legislation that allowed Foxborough and other communities to opt out was to put it on the ballot, which is what happened. Town didn't take an official stand. It was more looking to see how the town wanted to proceed. So that's a very exciting race that we're going to find out the results of tonight. So we've got the school committee race and we have the ballot question. Now, if you went out and voted, thank you for doing your civic duty. Estimates our town clerk, Bob Cutler, made prior to the election was that he was thinking maybe 1,000 people will come out. So we'll also see how close he came to that early prediction. Now, you may notice that we're not in our usual location. This is May 1st. This is the election day, but we are in Studio A here at our beautiful studios at 28th Central Street. We always like to show off where we bring the productions to you. My executive director is Michael Weber. He is behind the glass. Lauren Batar is producing our show. Paul Beck is behind the glass. Mike Stewart is our camera operator. So we've got many volunteers here, as well as Sue Dring, who is the chairman of our advisory committee, who's going to come in. We're going to have a nice conversation about the upcoming town meeting warrant, which is on Monday, May 8th at the high school, so we know we'll see you there. But before we talk to Ms. Dring, we would also like to bring to you a production that we did earlier today. As you know, we like to talk to the candidates after the polls close, see what their thoughts are, how everything went. Well, makes for a long day, so we thought this year we would try to get them midstream, maybe when they were not quite ready to go off to do other things. So I wish you would take a few minutes to join with me as together we watch my interviews earlier today with the challenger, Nancy Morrison, and the incumbent, Beverly Lord, who are both running for the 3-year seat on the Foxborough School Committee. So why don't you sit back and enjoy, and when you come back, we'll be talking to Sue Dring with the Advisory Committee. Take a look. I'm now joined by Beverly Lord, who is the incumbent and running for re-election to another term on the Foxborough School Committee. How are you doing, Beverly?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And fortunately, I was extremely grateful when it was only misting when we arrived, and both Nancy and I are very grateful it hasn't rained today.
You know, it has been a very nice day. It's been a little overcast, but it's been one where folks truly should have had no reason not to come out to vote.
Absolutely. We're disappointed with the low turnout. I think that's because there's only one contested race, but people really should know that to keep democracy alive, we must practice it and vote.
Mm-hmm. So, that's actually a great point. And part of it also is, with our committees and getting out to vote, sometimes it comes down to the candidate. So how do you feel with your campaign and how your reelection has been going? How do you feel your supporters are coming out today? Do you feel good about this?
Yes, well, I actually know that people have come up and congratulated Nancy and said good luck, and I voted for you. So I know, and some of my supporters have done the same thing for me. We both are receiving votes, so it'll be interesting to see what the final tally is.
Well, of course, we are still a long way at this point in time from that final tally, and I know that you're going to stay with us here on Foxborough Cable Access for our live election coverage. I'm here talking with Beverly Lord, who's the incumbent. And so this will be, if you're reelected, this will be your fourth term? Fifth?
It will be my fifth full year term, and because I filled in for 1 year after that, I will actually be starting my 14th year on the school committee if I am reelected.
That's fantastic commitment. Thank you so much for your work so far. And if reelected, then thank you in advance for the next 3 years.
Well, I'm hoping I'll be reelected. That's why I stepped forward.
So real quickly, with any election, you meet people and you perhaps learn some new ideas. Are there any great takeaways from this campaign season that have resonated?
I am very pleased there with the takeaway that Nancy has run a very polite, quiet campaign. There has been no friction or hostility or anything in it, no aggravation. So she's been a fine person in which to campaign against.
Yeah. Well, I truly agree on that. I think a clean campaign is the best because really it's all about the ideas we bring to the table, not tearing anybody else down. So congratulations on both your parts for running a phenomenal campaign and for really bringing the issues out that you wanted to advertise as being what you bring to the table. What do you say to that, right?
Well, what do I say to that? Well, thank you, sir. And you know, like Foxborough is a very giving community, and there was a Patriot player, Adrian Waddle, the other day that came to the end of the Foxborough cleanup at the barbecue time, and he was wearing his shirt, Celebrate Volunteerism. Well, Foxborough, I think, is one of the best communities I know that does that. So I chose, rather than holding a sign on the common last week, I said, you know what? Not only is it a pleasure, but it's also a privilege to serve Foxborough. So I was on the cleanup crew, and we did a lot of good again last Saturday.
Well, that's such a fantastic program. A.J. Dooley, of course, leading that, and back in the day with Jack Othlet with the original idea, and this year Tina Bellinger, one of your fellow board members on the school committee who has really picked up the mantle and run with it as far as being a leader with that. So what a great day. I was umpiring baseball and I saw the volunteers coming through and picking up, and it was great to see them in the bright blue jerseys this year, right?
Oh, that was perfect. I had my yellow pants, and you know, my campaign dress is blue and gold to match my signs.
Well, if you're going to volunteer, it's no harm in being color coordinated, right?
Absolutely. Go Foxborough.
Go Foxborough, and I can't end this, and the sun has come out, which must be smiling nicely on your campaign and all the work that you've been doing. So Beverly Lord, thank you so much for appearing with me here and for volunteering yet again to be on the school committee, and best of luck with the election.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching, and stay tuned. We are going to be furthering our live election coverage here in Studio A when we return. And welcome back to Studio A. Want to thank Beverly Lord for taking the time to talk with us. I know that when you're holding signs, being on cable access is not first and foremost in your thoughts, but you know, it's important that we take the opportunities to talk to the candidates and see how it went. And as you heard, she was praising her opponent, Nancy Morrison, for running a positive campaign. And the same should be said, of course, to Beverly Lord for always being positive. And she's been a friend of Cable Access for so many years also. So thanks so much to Beverly for taking the time. And now, if you'll stay with me, we're going to cut to our interview with Nancy Morrison. So I hope you enjoy meeting Nancy. Take it away. And it has been a fantastic day of voting out here in Foxborough. I'm joined right now by Nancy Morrison, who's one of the two candidates running for a position on the school committee. Nancy, so nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Well, I know it's been not a rainy day, not a super sunny day, so it's been a good day to vote. Have there been a lot of people voting?
Not as many as we'd like, but there has been a few. It's been consistent, but not as many as we'd like.
And so then the obvious follow-up question is, how do you feel the voting is going? Do you feel good about your chances today?
I have no idea. I have no idea. We just have to wait until the polls are closed and, just think positive and just wait.
And speaking of positive, it's always great when we have positive campaigns, and it's been a pretty nice, peaceful election season. And this school committee race has been really one about bringing ideas. And so, just to recap, what is the overriding thing that you wanted to bring to the table, and what have you really taken away from this campaign?
Well, that's a loaded question. I've taken away, it's been a great experience, that's for sure. I'm actually talking to Bev a lot today, learning a lot about her and all of her work, and just meeting people and seeing people drive by and wave, and people that are friendly and want to come and talk and say nice things. And it's just a great experience. I love talking to people and getting feedback, and we've been able to do that today, so that's great.
And I ran for office also myself a couple times in the mid-2000s, and one of the things I always took away from a campaign is all the people I met and the new ideas, and really being able to better understand what it was that the folks were thinking, and that also helped steer me in how I would think about approaching items and issues as they would arise. So is there something in particular that if you win that you're just going to jump in there and go for?
Nothing jumps out to me, nothing in particular, just, continue. I have the learning curve is going to be huge. So just to jump in and see what's going on. And from the committee meetings that I've been watching so far, try to pick up as much information as I can and try to, hopefully the transition will be pretty smooth, and I can just pick up where was left off and go from there. Just so, because I think I'm pretty good on the information that's discussed, and just go from there and continue on.
So, and as you can see, we are taping this before the polls close, and so it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon right now. And I'm just curious, how do you think the rest of the day is going to go as far as the surge of voters coming out? And also, I suppose at a higher level, how do you feel the response has been so far during your campaign? Has it been positive? People like the ideas?
Yeah, a few have. I'm hoping for a big outburst, maybe after the dinner hour, after the work time. Big rush will come in, hopefully. We'll have thousands, hundreds of people, hopefully, coming out to vote. Thousands would be nice, but, anyway, maybe a couple hundred will come out, and we'll see what happens. We'll think positive and hope for the best.
Sure. And then for those of you who are watching, of course, we will be quickly approaching with the live election results when they're posted. But until that time, I hope you'll stay with us. I'm talking to Nancy Morrison, who's running for school committee. So, Nancy, when you run a campaign, a lot of people come out to help, people maybe who rely upon and have known for a long time, and perhaps some new friends. Is there anybody in particular you'd like to thank for this election cycle?
Not really anybody in particular. My husband has been doing most of my campaigning along with me, and a couple of my neighbors have been terrific with signs, and that's about it. I mean, I haven't had a very big committee. Mainly my husband and myself, and we try to get out there and every weekend and at the Common and hold up signs. That's basically it. Hope for the best, and we all want what's good for the community and good for Foxborough. That great town, great school system. So, that's all you can do. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Well, I tell you, being part of this community now for over 2 decades, I've really enjoyed seeing the people come out and volunteer. And they always say that Foxborough is built on the backs of our volunteers, and nowhere is that truer than with the school department, because the school committee, in addition to being volunteers, everybody is so invested in the future of their children. And education is something that can really strike some points. And so, congratulations to you for stepping up and running for a seat on the board, and best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you to everyone that come out today. And thank you to the voters. And also, I want to just put a plug in for next Monday, May 8th, for the town meeting. Hopefully everybody will come out in droves for that one, too. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nancy, for taking the time to meet with me and talk to the folks. And I hope that you will stay with us for live election results, which are coming up very quickly. Have a great day. Well, I had a great day, and I hope you're having a great day. And it's always a great day when you can vote in our great country and further the democratic process. So I hope you went out and voted. Again, our town clerk, Bob Cutler, estimated maybe 1,000 people, so we'll see how close he was to that mark. So thank you to Nancy Morrison for speaking with me, as well as Beverly Lord, and I hope you enjoyed this little snippet to have the chance to meet the candidates and a little more personal. Now, of course, you also, if you're fans of Foxborough Cable Access or a local election process, you met the candidates during the live JC's Candidate Night event a couple weeks back. We do it right here at our Cable Access studios. And just a reminder that Foxborough Cable Access is here to serve the community. We're made up of volunteers, and we'd always love more volunteers. So if what you're seeing is exciting to you and you feel it's something you want to get involved with, come on down to our studios. Call us at 508-543-4757, or just stop on by 28 Central Street. Mark Nash is usually at the front desk. Mike Weber is our executive director, and they love to share how you can be part of our family. Speaking of new people coming into our family, I'd like to introduce to you my guest, Sue Dring. Sue, so nice to meet you and have you come in.
Thank you.
Sue is the current chairman of the Foxborough Citizens Advisory Committee, correct?
Correct.
And how many years have you been serving on this committee?
This is my 4th year.
4th year, and the committee is appointed, as most of us know, but maybe you don't, it is appointed by the town moderator, and so this is your 2nd term, I believe?
Yes, this is the beginning of my 2nd term.
Fantastic. And so how do you like being the chairman?
I like it a lot. It's not something I would have expected to do. It's
You
funny
didn't
when
go to school to be the chairman of the advisory committee?
No, surprisingly I didn't. When I first got on the advisory committee, I was really nervous about having to speak at town meeting.
Really?
So I don't think I ever would have envisioned myself as being the chair, but it's a great committee to be on. And
Well, they say that, and I always say that Foxborough is built on the backs of our volunteers, and the advisory committee is a key piece of our process here in town, because what you're doing is you're really giving the in-depth research to all the articles on the town warrant and making a recommendation to citizens. We, of course, don't have to follow them, but with the information that you get, also the pros and the cons are laid out for us very nicely. So it's a huge benefit to the average voter like myself, who may be not familiar with all the articles. And how many articles do we have on the warrant? 24?
24, yep.
Fantastic. So we've got a lot of talking to do tonight, but thank you so much for taking the time. It's become tradition here with Foxborough Cable Access that we speak with the chairman of the advisory committee, or AdCom as is more commonly known, and really get some lowdown. And I always ask you, what are your favorite articles? And I don't mean favorite by meaning the ones you're super supportive of, but favorite ones as far as being juicy and meat and potatoes, and let's really talk about it. So what's your number one favorite article this time?
Well, I think the most interesting one is the marijuana article, whether or not we'll prohibit the sale of marijuana.
So that's Article 22, correct? So that's at
24.
So that's at the end.
Yeah.
And I was always an advocate myself back in the day of putting the most interesting article at the end so that everybody has a stay, because the worst thing is to have town meeting and not have quorum. So it's really important that everybody come out. And the town meeting is on May the 8th, Monday, May the 8th at the high school. And what time does it start?
7:30.
7:30. So we hope to see you there. You'll see me there, and I'll see you there, because you're going to be up on stage talking about many of these things.
I will be there, yeah.
And directing everybody else. So let's talk about marijuana. First of all, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the ballot question at the just closed polls today.
That's right.
And it has to pass both the ballot and town meeting in order for it to become law. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So the ballot question was a yes vote would have prohibited Foxborough from having a zoned area where recreational marijuana could be permitted to be sold.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yep,
All right, because there are a lot of marijuana in there, and I want to make sure I got it right. So I'm right?
that's right.
So a yes vote means we're not going to do it.
That's correct.
Okay.
And it's the same at town meeting. A yes vote means no marijuana.
Okay, great. So we'll know, as we're all waiting for live election results, of course, how that went. So let's talk about it, and then at the end we'll recap and see where we go from there. How about that? So talk pot.
Well, I didn't have an opinion one way or the other, but there were a lot of people on our committee who were saying that at these shops you can buy edibles, so you can buy like cookies or lollipops, And I guess you can't tell the difference between one that's got marijuana in it and one that doesn't. So their concern was, what if a kid finds one of these lollipops, that kind of thing, which to me.
And I hear the new one is gummy bears.
Oh, really?
And I was having a discussion with one of our state officials, and they were doing some research, and this is going to sound a little off the wall, but one of them wanted to learn what the real issue was with the gummies, and so this person tried one, and really threw this person for a loop. And
Really?
so it's a little scary, and that person's probably going to be coming out against, just because it was not a reaction anticipated. And lollipops and gummy bears, those are things that
Sure.
are, I'm sorry, but they're not marketed towards, at least in my opinion, towards the adult population who's using it for pain management, that sort of thing. So it becomes dangerous. But at the same time, the argument, of course, the counter argument is, we're adults, we should be able to make decisions, right?
Sure.
So how did the advisory committee come down on this question?
We all voted in favor of prohibiting. The other issue, I think, is that it's a cash business because the banks won't take it on because it's still against the law federally.
Yeah, there's that minor issue that Massachusetts law is counter to federal law, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah,
But
small little issue there that.
So you're just going to have a lot of cash. So it's not going to be the same as a different business because it's going to be one with a lot of cash.
Now, one of the arguments was that it would create a revenue stream for the Commonwealth. If the town votes no, which means we do participate in selling recreational marijuana, what sort of a revenue stream comes to the towns?
So I think you would just get the real estate tax from, so it would be the same.
So there's no true benefit to the town to have.
No, it'd be the same if it was a toy store or a clothing shop, I believe.
So we don't get direct benefit because the only local taxation that we're permitted is hotel tax and the surcharge on the meals tax. There's a voter-approved surcharge that we in Foxborough. In the rest, clearly, ours in Foxborough goes a 50-50 split between the OPEB, the retirement liability that we have, and the road infrastructure, which is, whether people agreed or disagreed with the origins of the tax, it has to be said that it certainly is making a difference in denting our overwhelming OPEB liability. We're so far ahead of other communities in taking care of that. And our roads have a nice influx of cash, and the highway department is certainly able to keep up in a much more managed and proactive way than maybe some of our fellow communities. So when Foxborough took that step, they've held true, because it has to be voted every year by the Board of Selectmen, right, that they vote to dedicate those funds on a 50-50 split to the OPEB and the highway. So there's no real benefit that you know of to having a pot shop, a head shop, whatever you want to call it, here in our town center.
Right. Although at the moment, the state is trying to figure out what they're going to do with all of this.
Right.
There's.
Well, it was a citizens petition, and citizens petitions.
Right. So there's 40 bills apparently floating around trying to figure out how they're going to do this marijuana.
Wow.
So maybe eventually it will be, if you're selling it in a town, that you can tax it. So who knows?
But current state, that's not on the table.
So nobody knows what's going to be the end game.
Wow.
Of the state.
Well, so we will eagerly anticipate getting the results. And of course, thank you so much for being with us here live on election coverage here in Foxborough. We love bringing the results to you live on cable access. As soon as we receive them, they're going to be transmitted to our studios and brought to you. So you're in the right place. Sit on back, enjoy a little bit of time with us as we talk about the town warrant. So we've talked a little pot. What's number 2 on your list of things that might be of interest?
Well, there's a parking ban and snow removal.
So I
There's
read
two
about that,
ones.
and I read about that in the Foxborough Reporter. So let's talk a little bit about that. What is the warrant article exactly?
So the parking ban is gives the town manager the ability to basically call a snow emergency, and then you can't park on town roads.
But don't we already have that?
No, we don't, surprisingly.
So all these years where they've been saying there's a town parking ban, that's actually not been legal. They've just been saying it. And
And you
So
can fall for it.
anybody who got ticketed or towed, no, I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. But truly, and much credit to Town Manager Bill Keegan and whoever else is responsible for this particular piece of legislation. But it is always, a desire to be legal when we do things in a
Right,
town. So
right.
that's really what is generating this.
Yes, I think the police chief had a big part
Okay.
in that. And then the snow removal, it's got kind of more rules. The owner has to make sure that their mailbox is accessible to the mail carriers. If your mailbox gets damaged by the snow plows, that's on you to fix it, or your property, if like
Really?
your lawn, yeah.
Ooh. See, it's a good thing you tuned in because this is a near and dear question for many folks. So,
Yeah. Well, see, I don't have a problem with that because that's tough to go through the whole town, removing snow and.
okay, it's great that you say that because people believe that the snowplow operator is out to get them, and that's not the case. I don't believe. I think the push-pull here is that with letter carriers being more and more on the motorized routes, and I'll take Mechanic Street as a great example. The motorized route is along the road, but the mailboxes clearly are going to get plowed if you have one of those storms like we had 3 years ago.
Sure.
It's just going to happen. So what
Yeah.
is the right answer on that? So what does the legislation say?
So it says, yeah, if your mailbox gets damaged, then
Tough luck.
you need to fix it. You also can't throw your snow out into the street. So no more
What?
throwing your snow, Bob.
Get out. Oh,
That's
this
part
is
of the-
America. Whoa. No, just kidding. Actually, I thought that was always a bylaw.
Well, it's now in the snow bylaw, so,
Okay, so that
don't
was
try
also,
it.
it's always been frowned upon, but now it's going to be a law. So you can
Right.
get ticketed, I would imagine, if this passes.
I
I would
suppose you could
imagine,
get
okay.
ticketed.
Oh,
But they also tried to have an overnight parking ban, just as a general during the winter time.
really? All the time?
All the time, yeah, that the advisory committee was against.
That's
So
interesting.
they took that out
I
of the bylaw.
can see where they took it out.
They took it out, the overnight
Really?
parking
So the
ban, yeah.
advisory committee actually was able to create an amended warrant article based upon feedback and research.
Right, right.
Phenomenal. I think that's the way it's supposed to work, right?
Yeah, it was good.
Well, good for you.
Good for everybody.
Good for everybody. Good for all of us because now we don't have to debate something. Because I can
Yeah.
certainly see where that would be something that would maybe favor upper income folks who have driveways and housing that doesn't require street parking, and it seems like it would be rather unfair for folks that don't
Exactly.
have the luxury of having off-road parking. So
Exactly.
great. So
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I like that. Well, I'm enjoying this conversation. Of course, I'm here with Sue Dring, who is the chairman of our Foxborough Advisory Committee, or the ADCOM, as I should start calling it, but I'm old school. I spell Foxborough the UGH way, and I say the whole name of the committee. Do you go ADCOM or Advisory Committee?
AdCom is fine.
ADCOM is fine. All right, well, I lost that one. I lose a lot of things. That's okay. So we've talked about pot. We've talked about snow. I guess my favorite one that I like talking about every year is the CIP budget, and the capital improvement plan budget is the one where we take the certified free cash from 2 years ago, and also non-recurring revenue streams such as concert ticket revenue and other stadium-related revenue that does not go into the general fund. So what's big on the items this year that we're going to be voting on? And by the way, I'm going to say, I always love having this conversation. Every dollar that the town receives is accounted for, correct?
That's correct.
And every dollar that the town received is certified, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So there's no opportunity for the town to hide money. You see this on Facebook and blogs, and the town absolutely is accounting for everything that comes in. Randy Scollins has been our finance director now for 12 years, I do believe, and does a great job of tracking revenue and ensuring that the town is receiving everything that we're due. So
Yeah, you make sure
I
everything's
just like to toss that out there,
Yeah, he
so.
makes sure everything is balanced, so that's great.
nothing drives me nuttier than when I read, the town's not getting money, the town's not keeping track. Of course the town keeps track. Can you imagine the town not keeping track of the revenue stream? So let's talk about CIP. I'm going to flip on my page. And of course, for those of you who want to learn more about the warrant, before the meeting, you can always log on to the town website. I printed this off right before filming. You can do the same, and you can read all about the warrant articles before you even get to town meeting. So do your own research, inform yourself, educate yourself.
Don't you think it's a shame they're not printing it in the paper?
You know, I don't know why they're not. Why aren't they?
A couple years ago, they had a warrant article to not print it in the paper, but
So the townspeople voted
well,
to
I
do
think
that.
it seemed like the idea was, so we have a stormwater bylaw
Mm-hmm.
on here that's 15 pages long. So the idea is something like that you don't want in the paper, but
Understood.
so you could put, just for that warrant article, you could say, see the website.
See a summary,
But
right?
you could print the rest of it. So I think it's a shame that it's not being printed.
Well,
in the
you
paper.
know, the wonderful thing about town government is all it takes is one person to stand up and say, hey, what is it, 10 people to get it put on the warrant?
That's right.
Only
Right,
10
yeah.
people. So you and your husband or wife and his or her sister and his or her husband and wife and
Yep. Get it back on.
touches somebody, you get 10
Yeah.
people, it puts back on. So I think that should be, maybe that's our homework assignment for the next year.
I like it. I like it. I think it should be in the paper.
So the CIP budget is Article 5. So I'm going to flip to Article 5 and look at that. I see the CIP budget. So what is interesting on here? I see that we have a total expenditure on the ballot of $3.5 million. That seems pretty healthy. Seems like our town is doing well and has some money to invest in their capital and their infrastructure. Is that an accurate assessment, or?
Oh, sure, sure. The big thing to me on there is the $500,000 for downtown sewer.
Let's talk about that. Everybody knows that we need it, and everybody's talking about where we're at. So where are we?
Where are we at? Well, one of my complaints, you can hear all my grievances today.
We've got time because we're waiting for live election results, and this is our conversation.
airing of the
Just you,
grievances.
me, and a few hundred people out there. So
They had it as a placeholder, as a warrant article in itself, and then they decided not to have it as its own warrant article. It's just in the CIP.
okay,
And I'm for the downtown sewer, but I think if you're going to be ripping up the downtown and spending $500,000, I think it should be its own warrant article as well. But-
interesting. So and again, I'm purely speculating. I probably shouldn't do that because this is going to be filmed, and it's going to be repeated. By the way, this show is going to be aired repeatedly for the week between now and the town meeting on May 8th, which is at 7:30 p.m. at the Foxborough High School, and we hope to see you there. It's important that we all do our civic duty, and it's actually a great way to participate, and nobody can say if they attend that they didn't know what was going on, because it's very informative. Town moderator Frank Swain does a great job of sharing exactly what's going on as it's going on, and answering any questions. So it's a great event. You should be there. So sewer is on the CIP and not as a standalone warrant article. Why do we think? Do you think it might be because it's already been discussed at some point, they feel this is more administrative, or is there another reason, do you think?
You know, I never really got a straight answer as to why they took it from the placeholder, but I mean, it's not up to me to decide. I'm just
Right. Well, I'd have to
using
speculate.
my
That's probably.
opportunity.
Well, you know what, though? It is important that we have an opportunity to discuss the events. But
Yeah.
I think, again, just
But
speculating.
I am for the downtown sewer. So.
Yeah, I think we've already, voted to go forward and be part of the regional approach and partnering as owners with Mansfield and Norton. And then we had, huge discussion about selling excess capacity to other towns. And so I think at this point it is a matter of funding it. So if this is a way to fund it through CIP, actually, it's a phenomenal way to go about it, because then it becomes something that we already have the money coming in as opposed to bonding it. So.
Right.
There we go. So it's part of the CIP. Apparently we have excess free cash enough to cover this particular chapter of the sewering. So what is this piece going to get us if we vote in favor of the CIP as it currently sits?
The whole CIP,
Oh, for the sewer that we're talking
the
about.
sewer. Yeah, so they want to hook up for the old fire station.
Okay.
So hopefully they will then sell it. The
And that's a
dream
big
is
step, because you clearly, people who are investing money never like maybe kind of wishes, who knows what's going to happen. I'll do it. I'll just toss, I'll buy this big parcel.
Right.
Maybe I can someday, perhaps. Nobody likes doing that. So
Yeah.
this is a necessary step, definitely.
Right. So seems like the dream is that it would be some sort of restaurant, which would be nice to have downtown.
Well,
But-
and Paige Duncan does such good work with the not only town planner, but also in working to have the Economic Development Committee really have a vision that they can share. So this is clearly a piece of that puzzle. Because I know
Right.
that also with the Keating Funeral Home, former Keating Funeral Home, my apologies, that was taken to tax title. And I also know there's some other development that's in the works, and a lot of it is dependent upon the sewer.
Right, right. And we
Got to start
haven't-
somewhere.
We have another article of people who want to join in on the sewer, and there's 85 parcels, so that's a lot of people
Okay.
who want to join in.
So with the current plan in the works, that's something that's doable?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Is that a warrant article in here?
it is, it is.
How did the advisory committee recommend? Are they in favor or no?
They're in favor.
They're in
of that,
favor,
yes.
all right. Is the AdCom, I'll use the AdCom, in favor of the CIP as it's currently written?
It is, yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So that's a positive. And was there any other interesting? I see that the fire department, inspections department, police department all have pieces in here. So that's for apparatus, I would imagine, new trucks, new cars, all the
Yes.
things that go into. And information system, I see 145. What's that?
There's a lot of money actually in there for computer upgrades and network upgrades, and they spend a lot of money on technology, which is a good thing.
And one of the other nice things, when I was the selectman back in the day, I
When
used to
were
always,
you a selectman?
oh, way long ago, 2002 to 2008.
Am I giving away your age? Did
No,
I not ask
I always
that?
say I was twice hired and once fired. So there you go. Which, if I hadn't done that, then I would never have gotten the gig with the newspaper and never done this. So all
Yeah.
things go in the right way, I always
That's
say.
right.
But I used to always say that it is always wonderful having Patriot playoff games because it's just unexpected money, and every playoff game would buy us 3 school buses. So
Sure.
I'm sure that the revenue
Yeah,
stream
there
is
are
a little
school
more
buses in
robust.
there.
But
are
and
school
again, going to the
buses in
Super
there.
Bowl as they did, it won't be this year because it's a 2-year cycle. But the following year, it'll be certified as free cash, and there'll be additional bump in revenue. So
Yeah.
that's the way the CIP works.
And they're also going to have a new website, new town website. So that'll be nice.
They are?
They are.
So one of the things that happened while I was selectman is I led this little committee to how to have a town website. So it's really
Oh,
cool to hear
really?
that. That's really
Oh.
interesting. Yes.
So we have you to thank for the town
Not me
website.
to thank. There was some really great. Eric Arvidon and Rainey Scollins were both big fans, and we worked
Yeah.
very hard to put that together. But
Oh, it's very, very good already. So
And
now
Rain-
they're going to just make it better. So-
and Rainey Scollins did a great job of picking up that mantle and really putting it into practice. And it's a very
Yeah.
robust website. It's
Yeah, it is.
something that we can be proud of. So, and in
So-
fact, now that you look at it and you think about paying bills online and getting information, how do we
Mm-hmm.
ever survive without it?
Yeah.
That's my pitch for the town website. I hope you go to Google, look it up, and you'll find it. So, and while you're there, you can always check out the town warrant so you can educate yourself before you go to the town meeting on May 8th at 7:30 p.m. at the Foxborough High School. Sue Dring with the advisory committee. You are the chairman, and we're having a
That's
good time
right.
here, aren't we?
We are.
Very peaceful, right?
So
Cool
far.
stuff. All right, so far. Now I'm going to hit you a really tough one. All right, we'll put away the CIP. What's the next most fun article you have on here?
The next most fun.
The next most fun.
Well, there's a stormwater article that is not fun at all, I don't think.
Stormwater.
But,
Let's talk about stormwater. Now,
it's-
my experience back in the day, and this is before the regional sewering approach took effect, the town of Mansfield had issues with Foxborough because we were letting too much rainwater and runoff go into our sewerage, which meant that there was an artificially high, artificial is probably the wrong word, but there was rainwater that doesn't require treatment flowing into the treatment system. So it was unnecessarily, bringing the town of Mansfield plant up to capacity. So where are we at with runoff and rainwater, and stormwater?
So this is all based on a federal mandate from the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. And
So as long as it's not marijuana, we're going to go ahead and follow federal laws. Is that it?
well, Well, I have a friend who works at the EPA, and she doesn't even know if she still has a job. They tell her to watch the news to find out. So who knows what's going to happen to the EPA? But their whole issue is with the stormwater. So you get the storm drains, the little crisscross things in the road, and the water flows in there. So as you were saying, they were worried about how that's polluted. So Roger Hill came in and talked to us about it. And
Roger Hill, our DPW director.
That's right.
There you go.
So they have to go through and clean each one of them. And I believe he said there's over 2,000.
Yep, they have to clean out the basins.
Yeah,
Yep.
so they do that twice a year. They have to take samples and send some into the EPA and show what kind of pollution may be involved in there. And then for the,
That sounds like a lot of work.
yeah, it is a lot of work for an unfunded mandate.
So part of it also, and I don't know where we're going with this, by the way, but I also am an aged member of the NRRC, and back before the dam was repaired, we were trying to educate homeowners and also educate the town about runoff from your lawns, putting fertilizers, having that go into the reservoir, and then create algae blooms and things that maybe not healthy for a robust water ecosystem. And part of it also was the roads that surround the ideal way is to have a swale where road runoff, which has oils and other sediments on it, can go in and be naturally filtered before it goes into your catch basin or goes into the reservoir. So that's the extent of my knowledge. I think what I'm doing is I'm sharing that. I really don't know what we're going to talk about here, but that's my basis of this conversation. So let's talk about storm drains and what are the issues that the EPA is saying might be there that we're now being asked to address.
Well, a big part of the Warren article is if you're building on an acre of land, then you're going to have to get a permit, and you might have to do special things based on where you are.
Is this geared towards developers or is this geared towards the normal homeowner?
No, this would be because it's an acre. Actually, they started out, so that it's an acre for the federal requirement.
So if it's less than an acre that you're building on, it doesn't trip the federal requirement, is that what we're saying?
Right.
Okay.
The town was looking at having a smaller piece of land, and there were some people who went to meetings and said, I don't think that's right. I think we should follow the federal guidelines, because it's very expensive to have to go through this whole permitting process. And then if they say, well, you got to do this, that, or the other before you can build, and that's adding expense as well.
So the federal government, and I'm sure we can read it in the article, and I'm just asking for a summary, but so what is the federal requirement? Do you actually create your own storm drain, or you tie into the runoff system, or?
Oh, no. Well, you should read it. It's only 15 pages, and it's very exciting.
Wait a second, what number is this? What number am I on? Stormwater bylaw, page 19.
Yeah.
Through 35, it is?
Yes, it's very long. It's very
So-
complicated.
So on this one, I think
So
we're
I'm
going to
not gonna
have to give,
pretend that I'm
we're
an
going to have to
expert on
give
it, 'cause
praise to the people who didn't want to fund having this put in the newspaper, although,
Well, see, I think they could have had the rest of it without having that, was the way I felt.
all right, so 30-second summary. What does all this really say?
All that says is, so if you're building on an acre, then you're going to have to go through a special permitting process.
And that's managed by the Board of Health or?
The
who manages
Planning
that?
Board.
The Planning Board.
Planning
Okay.
board.
So those regulations are promulgated by the Planning Board, and they're really EPA regulations on a national level that we're adopting locally to be in compliance?
Exactly.
Fantastic, okay.
Although I
So-
did talk to somebody who said that one of the big causes of pollution into the stormwater is dog poop. So people can pick up the dog poop, and that would be a big...
Then again, there was also a big study done about cow flatulence, and at some point it's like, oh, come on. Come on. And I was umpiring a baseball game this evening before we came on the air, and there were geese flying everywhere. So I don't even want to get into that.
Oh, where was that?
Down at the booth here.
Oh, really? There were
Oh
geese
yes,
all
oh,
over?
absolutely. It's all good stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've obviously digressed a little bit. That's what tends to happen here in live television, but it's all good. I'm loving the conversation with my new friend, part of the FCA family, Sue Dring, who is chairman of the AdCom.
AdCom.
And she will be seeing you, as will I hope, on Monday, May 8th at 7:30 at the Foxborough High School. And by the way, we are still awaiting eagerly the live election results. Kathy Brady, who is our elections commissioner, is going to get those results to us just as soon as they have been completed. So there's 2 races, one for school committee, 3-year term with incumbent Beverly Lord, being challenged by political newcomer Nancy Morrison. And there's also the ballot question, which is phase 1 of the 2-step process to exempt Foxborough from participating in the recreational marijuana law that was passed by citizens petition in the last general election. Whew, I got all that out.
Oh, wow.
I'm amazing,
I have a
right?
prediction for the election.
What is your prediction? I like predictions.
I think Christine Igo Freeman's going to win. She's running for library trustee.
Well deserved, and she's been a long time person who does so many things in our community, along with her father. And well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put that one in the win column for Christine Freeman, as well as for everybody else who ran unopposed. By the way, we joke, but we should take the time to mention credit and kudos to all of those people, David Feldman, Board of Selectmen. Our assessor, people who take the time to volunteer for our community and
Sure.
run.
Yeah.
I always say that people who run unopposed mean that the voters have already voted by saying, we think you're doing a great job and we don't need to make a change. So, which doesn't necessarily mean that if people do run, that means people think you're doing a bad job. But it's really to a person's credit when nobody runs, because that means everybody's pretty much, things are running pretty cool. So congratulations to everybody who ran and ran unopposed. So let's come back to town meeting.
Town meeting.
Town meeting.
A
on
very
May 8th.
exciting town meeting.
Well, I always love town meeting. It's a great way to not only see some friends and neighbors that you see typically only at town meeting, but also, you're part of the process and you can speak and make your voice heard. And
That's true. That's true.
so let's talk about.
Last fall, we had an article that got voted down, if you remember. And they wanted to, that recreation land that they
Oh
wanted to sell.
yes, the flip was a flip of land or something like that, right?
Right, and
Voted it down.
they voted it down. So if you feel strongly about something, come on out
There
to
you
the
go.
town meeting.
There's a columnist in a neighboring town who that doesn't like the town meeting format, and I disagree 100%. I love town meeting. I love being able to go out and make my voice heard.
Yeah.
And the charges always make, but if a group feels strong about something, they get all their friends and they come change. Well, yes, that's
the
exactly
whole
the whole
point.
point of town
That's the
meeting,
whole
is that
point.
if I feel strongly about something, I can
Yeah.
rally the troops, and yes, we can go and affect change.
That's right.
That's the beauty of town meetings.
Yep.
So I'm a huge fan of our form of government here in Foxborough.
Yeah.
Not that anybody was asking me, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. So let's get back, Sue Dring, chairman of the AdCom, to the warrant. Now, here's one that was really of interest to me, and you had mentioned it earlier when we were doing some talking before we went on the air. The elderly real estate tax exemption qualification changes and the senior tax work-off program bylaw amendment. These are Articles 8 and 10. Let's talk about the elderly real estate tax exemptions qualifications. What are the changes and why are we changing?
So we're trying to make it easier for people to qualify. You can get a $1,000 tax credit on your bill. So right now the age, you need to be 70, so they're going to bring that down to 65.
Really? That's fantastic.
Yeah. And
That's a great way to bring some volunteerism into the community and reward the volunteers, and also make it more affordable to stay in Foxborough. So great.
And the
Who could say no to that? Do we have the money to fund that?
sure, we have money to fund that.
All right then. Well, then there you go.
They're also changing there's a income requirement. You have to be below 25,000 right now, and they're increasing that to 30.
Real okay. And that certainly makes sense. As time goes by, cost of living increases, and it's good to
Sure.
adjust that every once in a while. So
Sure.
fantastic.
Yeah. And the work-up program, that's a great program. Seniors can work for the town and they take the money off of the tax bill. Currently, you can earn up to $1,000 credit towards your bill. They're increasing that to $1,500.
Oh.
And they're also doing a thing where people who are disabled, so they wouldn't be able to work, they can assign someone else to do the work for them.
A proxy.
So you could have your grandchild go in and work at the town hall or whatever, and then you could get a tax break.
I
and
love that. That is
isn't
fantastic.
that a great idea?
That is a
And
great
they can
idea.
get some work experience, and so I think that's a really good idea.
And that way, it is not discriminatory towards people that don't have the ability to do certain things.
Exactly.
So that is a fantastic approach.
Yeah,
Well, good for the town.
I know. What
Yeah.
a great town.
What a
we're in.
great town. I hope everybody out there agrees. And so with that, was there any discussion? Was there any debate? Were there any issues that came up with that?
No, everybody thought
Everybody's
that was
pretty
a
happy
great,
with that?
great idea. There were questions about, okay, well, if you're the volunteer, are you then going to have a tax liability? But you won't. You don't get a W-2 if you're the volunteer.
Oh, that's an excellent point because it could be construed as being income, sure.
Exactly.
So we are eagerly anticipating the live election results, and I'm here with Sue Dring, and I really do appreciate her taking the time to come out. It's really not fair to ask a volunteer to volunteer even more, but every year the chairman of the advisory committee takes the time to sit with me and talk to you so that we can learn more about the upcoming town warrant and be more informed about what's going on in our town. So thank you so much for doing this. Are you getting excited
problem.
about the election results?
I can't wait.
So what do you
Oh,
think?
look.
Oh, and look at that. We have our results. Well, congratulations to Beverly Lord. Beverly has won re-election to the
Look, Bob
school committee.
Cutler was right about how many people would come out
He
to
was
vote.
absolutely right. He was within, we would have to say that I don't remember exactly what your plus minus needs to be for my statistics course that I took in college back in
Yeah.
1993. But
But
I'm gonna have to think he was pretty close because he's
yeah.
within
Well done, Bob.
45 votes of
Yeah.
1,000. So congratulations to him. So, and yes, the marijuana sales in Foxborough will not happen for recreational marijuana usage,
Wow.
which makes our warrant article moot, does it not?
No, this is so they voted yes to prohibit it.
Right?
So now they've got to vote
Oh,
again.
we have to do it there also.
We have to do it in the town meeting.
So this is very important, folks, because we voted to exempt Foxborough from the state statute. We need to do it twice. We did it at the polls, and we voted in favor of prohibiting recreational marijuana sales in the town of Foxborough by a very robust,
I'm surprised.
that's a
at this,
67% resounding
Yeah, I'm
resounding
surprised it's that high.
response. And so now the same has to happen at town meeting. If we fail to vote in favor of exempting us from the state statute, that means that it will be permitted.
Yes, right now the state is pushing off when they're going to give out licenses.
But whenever it happens,
So that would happen like in a year and a half
Mm-hmm.
from now anyway. So maybe the town will do something else in the meantime. I don't know, but yes, if it doesn't pass.
really interesting. So it is
Yeah.
important that everybody who feels strongly one way or the other, by the way, we're not advocating.
Yeah.
We are saying that this is a two-step process. And for the people who really want to sell recreational marijuana within the town of Foxborough, this is your opportunity to make it happen. Come out to town meeting on May 8th and let your voices be heard. As we were
That's
talking
right.
earlier, you can rally the troops and make your voices heard and really have an
Absolutely.
impact.
Absolutely.
This is a clear case of where that can happen. And on the flip side, it's very important for folks who clearly went to the polls and made their voices heard, for those same people to come out to town meeting and finish the process, because it is a two-step process.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's a resounding vote, and congratulations to Beverly Lord, who has won re-election to the Foxborough School Committee for another 3-year term. Thanks and appreciation, I'm sure, on my behalf, but also on behalf of folks here in Foxborough, to Nancy Morrison for volunteering to run for that seat. It's very important that people participate in the process, and you can't have elections unless people want to participate and be part of the process.
That's right.
Congratulations to Nancy for doing that. I had the opportunity to meet Nancy and her husband on the campaign trail, and also today, as you saw from the interviews earlier. Wonderful people, and very excited about the good things that are going on here in Foxborough. And of course, when I talked to Beverly Lord earlier, she praised Nancy, and I felt the same about her as well, for running a clean campaign, a positive campaign, really one based upon the things they want to bring to the table. I always like positive campaigns.
That's nice, yeah.
And we're having positive conversations here.
We sure are.
So what do you think about the election, Sue?
Well, congratulations to Beverly Lord. I used to babysit for her son.
Did you?
So I'm glad that
So we're all one big happy family here. Well, congratulations, Beverly. And again, that's a 62% turnout. So clearly the town supports the work that she's doing, and apparently felt enough to come out to the polls and vote to put her back in office for another 3 years.
Yeah, you'll see her at all the school events, plays, and
And as she pointed out, she was also at the cleanup day, so she truly does give to the community.
she does. Yeah, she does a lot.
So fantastic. So before we wrap up, I love having our advisory committee chairman, Sue Dring, here. Sue, this is going to be a show that's shown for the next week, and so this is really our time to get any additional information out about the town warrant. Is there anything else on here that you think is controversial, something that might require a little bit of education, or just something that really sparks interest that people, hey, that's really cool?
Well, the funny little thing that's on here is that they're changing a zoning bylaw that says it's about height.
Before we start, not very often will you have a television program or a conversation where somebody says a funny little thing about zoning. So I love zoning conversations. Let's talk zoning.
Well, it says the height can be increased, and they're going to change that to may. Height may be increased.
Height can be increased, height may be increased.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what? From a grammar standpoint, absolutely correct. I don't know whether you can or you cannot, but you may not always do what you can do. Right?
That's right. I just
Is
found
that the way the advisory committee wrote it, or did they put more details in there than that?
No,
Because that's the way my English
sums it
teacher
up,
taught it
but-
to me in the third grade.
I just thought it was funny that there was.
I don't know what you can
article
do,
that-
but you may not always do what you can do.
I wish I knew that. Then we would have. That could have been in the paper if.
Sue, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me
You're
and
welcome.
share with the town all the interesting pieces that have gone into the warrant from the advisory committee standpoint, and also some of the background as to what some of these articles are in here for. It's education that we can't get unless we have these conversations, and it's just not possible to have a conversation with all 17,000 citizens. So thank you very much for joining us here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you, Sue. And thank you, everybody, for joining me and my guests as we talk about the annual town meeting warrant. So what am I going to leave you with? I'm going to leave you with a request. I request that you take the time to read up on this, learn about it. It's on the town website. Very easy to find. Just click on the annual town meeting. It's the one that says final. And you can, don't print it. It's a lot of pages, particularly that article that's 17 pages long. But everything else, take a look at it and then come to town meeting. It's on May 8th. It's next Monday, 7:30 at the Foxborough High School. And I hope to see you there. On behalf of all the volunteers here at Foxborough Cable Access, we wish to thank the elections officials, particularly Kathy Brady and Bob Cutler, who always go the extra mile to make sure that we're not only legal but accurate, but also done the right way. And that's the way we do it here in Foxborough. And hopefully you share my enthusiasm for our town government, and we'll come out to town meeting. Thanks also to my volunteers who have put this together. Lauren Bitar, who does this every single year, make sure that the live election results come to you so you know what's going on as soon as it happens. Paul Beck, Mike Weber, our executive director, Mike Stewart, my camera operator. And I'm a volunteer also, Bob Hickey, and if you want to be one of us, one of the family members here at Foxborough Cable Access, we hope to see you. Until I see you at town meeting, have a great day, Foxborough.